For 51-year-old Suzanne Simpson, life in Alamos Park, Texas seemed perfect. She was a successful luxury realtor, a devoted mother of 4, and deeply loved in her community. But on October 6, 2024, everything changed. After attending an exclusive party at a private members-only club, Suzanne vanished. That night, a neighbor heard screams from the woods behind her home. Her husband reported her missing the next day. Weeks later, investigators uncovered something chilling. Months before she disappeared, Suzanne had told her banker that if she ever went missing, they should look for her in a lake. Suzanne Clark Simpson graduated from the University of Texas at Austin in 1995 with a degree in communications. She spent 6 years working at Dell Computers before switching to real estate, where she built a successful 13-year career with Nick's Realty Company. Her co-workers described her as incredibly dedicated, someone who knew the San Antonio housing market inside out. She would call clients overseas in the middle of the night if they needed her. Whatever the task, Suzanne made sure it got done. Her sister-in-law, Manny Simpson, who co-owned Nick's Realty, said Suzanne was always cheerful and positive. She never pretended to be someone she wasn't. Kind, open, and genuine. Suzanne had lived in San Antonio her entire life. She was incredibly active, having completed 22 marathons and even qualifying for the Boston Marathon. Running was her passion. She ran about 8 miles every day. But beyond her career and hobbies, Suzanne's world revolved around her children. Her 4 kids were aged 20, 18, 15, and just 5 years old. Friends called her a supermom who juggled everything, from kindergarten playdates to high school lacrosse games, with grace. Her eldest daughter, Chandler, studied fashion design in Paris and New York. One friend said, "Suzanne was the kindest person I knew. Everyone loved her. I can't think of anyone who'd say a bad word about her." Suzanne and her husband, Brad Simpson, had been married for 22 years. They lived in a century-old bungalow in Alamos Park, one of the safest and wealthiest areas in Texas. The community was close-knit, where everyone knew each other and looked out for one another. Brad, 53, stood 6'5" tall and worked as a licensed real estate agent and investor. Over the years, he'd been tied to about 15 Texas businesses, though most of them had eventually failed. Brad had worked at Cotter & Sons, a real estate firm, from 2002 to 2012. He was also business partners with the owner's son, James Cotter, in several ventures. But behind his confident appearance, Brad was struggling financially. Between 2019 and 2020, American Express sued him twice for over $25,000 in unpaid credit card debt. He'd been tangled in multiple legal disputes with former employers, even one that reached the Texas Supreme Court. Those who knew Brad described him as confident, but extremely jealous and controlling. A close friend told investigators that Brad would track Suzanne's phone. In August 2024, just 2 months before she disappeared, Suzanne confided in her personal banker, Gabriella Spicer, saying Brad had become physically abusive and often took away her phone to control her. Then she said something terrifying. If she ever went missing, they should look for her in a lake. Suzanne told the banker that after Brad took her phone, he'd lie to their kids, telling them she had lost it. Another friend also told investigators that Suzanne knew Brad tracked her phone constantly. She knew he was dangerously jealous. Still, there were no police reports or restraining orders. Everything stayed hidden behind the walls of their Alamos Park home. Suzanne's mother, Barbara Clark, later said she knew about at least one violent fight between the couple. She was helping Suzanne plan to move in with her and enroll the youngest child in a new school near her home. But before that could happen, Suzanne vanished, the very night she called her mom to say Brad had hurt her again. It was a Sunday evening. Suzanne was dressed in a short, dark dress and tan heels, her sandy blonde hair half tied back. Around 8 p.m., she and Brad took their 5-year-old daughter to a party at the Argyle, an exclusive 170-year-old private members club in Alamo Heights. Witnesses saw the couple arguing loudly, and according to their daughter, who later spoke to a school counselor, Brad pushed Suzanne against a wall, hit her in the face and hurt her elbow. Suzanne and her daughter left around 8:30 p.m. Between 8:40 and 8:51 p.m., Surveillance cameras caught them shopping at an H-E-B grocery store. At 9:15 p.m., Suzanne called a friend saying she was on her way over. 1 minute later, two things happened at once. Suzanne called her mother, Barbara, telling her that Brad had assaulted her and that her arm, back, and neck hurt. At that same moment, Brad accessed their AT&T account and suspended Suzanne's phone service. At 9:25 p.m., surveillance confirmed Suzanne had arrived at her friend's home in Alamo Heights. But by 10:22 p.m., her phone's Find My app showed it was back at the Simpson residence, the last known location of her iPhone. Between 10:20 and 11 p.m., a neighbor across the street heard arguing outside his window. The shouting grew louder, so he looked outside. He saw Brad and Suzanne in a physical fight in their front yard. Suzanne was trying to pull away, but Brad grabbed her, trying to stop her from escaping. Then Suzanne broke free and ran toward the woods east of the home. Brad chased after her, trying to grab her. The neighbor quickly went inside to grab a flashlight, but before he could return, he heard it. 2 or 3 loud screams coming from the wooded area behind the house. Those were the last sounds anyone would ever hear from Suzanne Simpson. Around midnight, the neighbor heard Brad's black 2019 GMC Sierra pickup truck start up and leave the house. 1 to 2 hours later, the truck returned. Later, FBI forensic experts would determine that around 11:09 p.m., Brad had started turning his phone on and off repeatedly, switching it in and out of lockdown mode, something investigators said was unusual and typically done to avoid being tracked. He continued this pattern throughout the next day. At 12:33 a.m., just over an hour after the screams, security footage from a nearby H-E-B store showed Brad's truck with a large ice chest in the back. Then, at 7:15 a.m., Suzanne's phone made its final activity, a brief signal ping from a business parking lot in Alamos Park. After that, it went dark forever. By 7:53 a.m., cameras at Howard Early Childhood Center captured Brad dropping off his 5-year-old daughter at school. In the bed of his truck were at least 2 white trash bags with red drawstrings and the same large ice chest. At 9:12 a.m., surveillance footage from a Whataburger drive-thru in Kendall County caught what would become one of the most damning pieces of evidence. Brad's truck now carried 3 large white trash bags, a heavy-duty garbage bin, the ice chest, and a bulky object wrapped tightly in a blue tarpaulin, held down with a metal firewood rack to keep it in place. Investigators later wrote in the arrest affidavit that they believed the tarp concealed an unknown object based on its shape and size, noting that criminals often transport or hide bodies this same way to avoid detection. At 9:53 a.m., Brad's phone data placed him at a Home Depot in Bourne, Texas. Surveillance showed him buying 2 bags of Quikrete cement, an orange construction bucket with a lid, a box of heavy-duty trash bags, a bottle of Clorox disinfectant spray, and insect repellent. He paid in cash, something investigators later noted was unusual for him. In the parking lot, he was seen asking a man for directions to the nearest dump. After leaving the store, Brad again began cycling his phone on and off. Between 10 and 11 a.m., his location data placed him near the Kendall County Solid Waste Facility. Minutes later, he stopped at a nearby gas station, where he bought fuel and 2 one-gallon jugs of water. By that time, the 3 white trash bags were no longer in the truck. Still visible were the blue tarp, the garbage bin, the firewood rack, and the ice chest. Investigators also noticed a small but telling change. Brad had switched shoes. Earlier, he'd been wearing sandals, but now he was wearing dark, cowboy-style boots. Location data then showed his truck heading west toward Bandera and into Medina County, where he stayed for about 13 minutes. His phone continued turning on and off in short bursts. Then at 1:41 p.m., a license plate reader captured Brad's truck returning to Bourne. The blue tarp was no longer visible, and the firewood rack had been moved. By 3 p.m., the school called Brad because his 5-year-old daughter still hadn't been picked up, something that never happened before. Suzanne had always done the pickup herself. At 3:27 p.m., surveillance showed Brad finally arriving to get his daughter. By then, only the ice chest and heavy-duty trash bin remained in the back of the truck. The firewood rack was gone. At 4:07 p.m., Brad stopped at the Bubble Bath Car Wash on San Pedro Avenue. Cameras showed him cleaning the driver's side and backseat area of the truck. When investigators later examined the vehicle, they found dried cement splatters in the rear passenger area and the truck bed. The only thing left inside was the ice chest. Everything else had been removed. Brad never reported Suzanne missing. The entire day passed without a word from him. His wife had vanished, failed to pick up their daughter, and didn't answer any calls, yet Brad said nothing. Finally, at 9:57 p.m. on October 7th, nearly 24 hours after Suzanne was last seen, a concerned friend called Brad asking why he hadn't reported her disappearance. When he admitted he hadn't contacted police, she told him she would file a missing persons report herself. Just 14 minutes later, Brad left a voicemail for Alamos Park Police Chief Fidel Villagomez, saying he hadn't seen his wife since 11 p.m. the night before. He claimed she had lost her phone at HEB, a lie, since phone data showed her device back home at 10:22 p.m., and Brad himself had deactivated her service. Brad then skipped a scheduled follow-up interview with investigators. Instead, he left town and went to his ranch property in Bandera County, distancing himself from his family and avoiding police contact. Brad sent a desperate text to his friend James Cotter saying, "If you're in Bandera, can you get to your house fast? I don't have much time." Cotter replied that he would be there in 40 minutes. Brad texted again telling him, "Make sure you leave everything in the pump house, especially that gun." At 8:31 p.m., Cotter texted back, "Get over here. I won't tell anyone. You're my brother." On October 8th, Brad created 2 notes on his phone titled, "This Next Life and Last Will and Testament." In them, he apologized for assaulting Suzanne in August 2023, and again on October 6, 2024, he also called his brother Barton and said sorry for all the trouble he had caused. At 1:30 a.m., police arrested Brad on Interstate 10 East in Kendall County. He was charged with assault, family violence, and unlawful restraint. He had cuts and bruises on his arms and hands, but showed no surprise or emotion about Suzanne's disappearance. He immediately asked for a lawyer and refused to cooperate. A search of the Simpson home showed a dent in the wall at the bottom of the stairs that wasn't there before. It matched what the couple's 5-year-old daughter said, that Brad had pushed Suzanne against the wall. Police found only 1 bag of cement, even though Brad had bought 2. They also found a box of heavy-duty black trash bags with only 28 bags left out of 32, plus the metal firewood rack and trash bin. The family's housekeeper confirmed that they usually used white trash bags with red handles, the same kind seen in Brad's truck. In a locked gun room, police found multiple firearms, including an unlicensed short-barrel rifle, leading to federal charges. On October 9th, Texas Rangers discovered a burn site on Brad's ranch in Bandera County. They found a burned laptop and 3 destroyed cell phones, all belonging to Brad. On October 21st, investigators searched James Cotter's home in the Dominion, a luxury neighborhood. A reliable anonymous source had told them exactly where to look. Behind a wall-mounted TV in Cotter's bedroom, they found an AK-47 hidden in the wall, the same gun Cotter had taken from Brad's vault 2 days after Suzanne disappeared. Cotter was arrested for tampering with evidence and possessing illegal weapons. His bond was set at $1 million. In December 2024, the case took a major turn. A grand jury revealed that Brad had hidden a reciprocating saw, a power tool that can cut through metal and bone. Soon after, law enforcement told Suzanne's family that her DNA had been found on that saw. A month after she went missing, Brad was officially charged with murder. His bond was raised to $5 million. The charges included murder, tampering with evidence, and possession of prohibited weapons. If convicted, he faced up to life in prison. Prosecutor Casey Sandoval said that even without Suzanne's body, they could still file the case. "The law doesn't reward people who dispose of their victims' bodies," he explained. On December 3, 2024, Brad's lawyer, Stephen Gilmore, filed a motion to dismiss the indictment, arguing that it was vague and unfair since there was no body or cause of death specified. But on April 29, 2025, Judge Joel Perez denied the motion, ruling that the evidence was strong enough to move forward. Investigators from multiple agencies searched across 3 Texas counties, including the woods where a neighbor heard screams, the area near where Brad was arrested, and his ranch in Bandera County. By October 2025, a year later, Suzanne's body still hadn't been found. A Texas DPS spokesperson said they would not stop searching, even if it took years. On November 5, 2024, Brad and Suzanne's 20-year-old daughter, Chandler, posted an emotional statement online. "My father took my mother's life in a state of rage and control," she wrote. Women in Alamo Heights were told to stay quiet. "This is the time to speak for my mom." Her post went viral. She and her siblings had already told police details that contradicted Brad's story, leading to the search warrant that uncovered the dent in the wall. By September 2025, the court ruled that both sides had enough evidence to proceed. The case files contained 5 to 6 terabytes of data, surveillance footage, phone records, and forensic reports. Brad remains in Bexar County Jail, held in isolation for 23 hours a day. Pre-trial hearings are scheduled for January 20th, 2026, and the trial will begin on February 13th, 2026. The prosecution's evidence includes the neighbor's eyewitness account, Suzanne's DNA on the saw, footage of Brad carrying wrapped items, his cash purchases of cement and trash bags, the burned electronics, the hidden AK-47, and his written apologies for past assaults. Investigators believe Brad attacked Suzanne shortly after she got home between 10 and 11 p.m. A neighbor saw them fighting outside before Suzanne ran toward the woods. Brad chased her. Those screams were the last anyone heard from Suzanne. They believe Brad killed her near the woods, likely by strangulation, then brought her body back to the house. The wrapped blue tarp in his truck the next morning, combined with her DNA on the saw, suggests he dismembered her and disposed of her remains with the cement and trash bags. It's a strong circumstantial case, even without a body. A year after Suzanne's disappearance, her daughter Chandler continues to fight for justice and raise awareness about domestic violence. Texas DPS continues searching, and the community still hopes for justice and for Suzanne to finally be found. If you have any information about Suzanne's whereabouts, please contact the Alamo Park Police Department at 210-108-2220.